Coming to Kickstarter this June, John Haynes at Death's Door, the man who rules the world, takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the standard and variant editions of John Haynes at Death's Door and lots of other great stretch goal rewards on Kickstarter this June. One of my viewers recently sold one of his screenplays, and after he sold his first screenplay, he was shocked to find out that the production company is making changes to it that are not what he originally envisioned when he wrote his story. Now, this is something that happens all the time in the entertainment industry, and it's something that oftentimes shocks and even upsets many first-time screenwriters. Unfortunately, this is just part of the business, because when you sell a screenplay, you basically are giving up all rights to the material, and it is now owned by the production company that you sold it to. And once the production company owns that script, they have a right to do whatever they please with it. Now, what usually happens after a screenwriter sells a screenplay is that usually the production company's executive producers usually go out here and hire their own screenwriter, and then they have their own screenwriter go out here and rewrite what you wrote. So this is something that usually happens in the screenwriting process, and it's something every screenwriter just has to accept as part of the whole business of the entertainment industry. Whenever you go into a deal with a production company, you have to understand that once that production company gets you to sign on the dotted line and they buy your script, they buy everything as related to that script, and once they buy it, they own all of the rights to it, and all you can do is just count the money. And that's just the way that the business is, because usually that's the standard contract for a first-time screenwriter. And usually first-time screenwriters usually just accept the first script getting changed, because at that point they're usually young, you're just starting out, and you're just trying to get that first sale, and you usually don't really worry too much about that first script, because usually when it comes down to most first scripts usually don't get greenlit. Usually it's like a 99.9% to one long shot that a first-time script is going to go to get greenlit and go to production. But usually most prodcos, once they buy a script from a first-time writer, it's usually for several purposes. One purpose is basically because they have a concept in place and they don't want competitors to get the same concept, so they'll buy that script and try to keep it off the market. Another scenario is they see a writer with some talent and potential, so what they'll do is they'll buy that script to see if they can get this writer to work with some other material they're working on. And what they'll do in this case is they'll send you a script that they bought and then have you rewrite the script to see if you can meet their standards. So that's another scenario that they usually have for a first-time script. Another one is just that they'll just buy the script because they see it as a possible concept that they may be able to work with in the future. So those are three of the scenarios that your production companies will buy a script on, but usually when they buy these scripts, they're buying them with the whole intention of changing them. So a first-time screenwriter really can't get too upset about their whole story being changed, because at some point in your script, eventually parts of your story are going to be changed, because again, the script is owned by the studio or the production company at this point, and they're going to change whole parts of your script to fit within their approach to storytelling, because sometimes a production company will change a scene because they don't really have the budget to shoot what you wrote, or sometimes they're just going to change it because the producers don't like what's being written and they think they can write it better. Other times you're going to have other people coming in, like the director saying that he doesn't really like the way, or she doesn't like the way that scene is done. So they're going to have the scene rewritten. But over the course of a production, a script is going to be rewritten multiple times. And by the time they finish with the pre-production, it's not even going to look anything like you wrote it. And also, as they go into production, you're also going to have actors coming in, and actors are going to come in and start talking about how they don't like how certain lines are in the script, how they don't like how certain characters are talking, and they don't like certain actions. Now, this is something that an actor can go out here and have some say in during the pre-production and even in the middle of production. And if the director signs off on these changes are going to be done inside of the pink pages. So your screenplay, when you write it, originally what happens to it is, yeah, they bought the script, but once they buy the script, they've already started making plans on how they're going to change it. And as they go through the production process and work towards the green light, they're going to continue making changes, and they go through multiple drafts. And then after they go through the multiple drafts, they go into the shooting script, and that shooting script gets revised practically almost every day with pink pages, depending on the notes that they get from readers, the notes they get from from the executive producer, and the notes they get from the director on each scene. By the time they finish with the original script you wrote and get it to production, you are looking at a completely different script from everything that you wrote. And learning about this whole process when I was younger, it made me build up a thick skin as related to the whole process of screenwriting, because the whole process of screenwriting is completely different than writing in any other medium like the novel or the comic book. When you're writing in a screenplay, when you're putting your fingers to the keyboard, yes, you're going to approach your story to make sure it's the best quality story. But once you go out here and finish your story, you're going to approach it very indifferently, because you understand that, yes, you wrote to the best of your ability, but you know that 99.9% of this can be changed. Now, when I go out here, and I was writing screenplays from about 2006 to about 2014 or so, I oftentimes understood that if I was writing screenplays, I had to stop putting my heart and my emotions into that script. And the reason why I could not approach a screenplay with heart and emotion is because I know that somebody who is on a production company, they have complete say over what's going to happen at the end of the day. So I have to approach writing a screenplay with a bit more indifference than I would with a novel or a comic book, because with a novel or a comic book that I'm producing on my own imprint like SJS Direct, I can put a little bit more passion into that story. But with a product like a screenplay, I just have to make sure that it is up to industry standards, it's up to what the customer requests, and make sure that the quality meets what they are looking for. And once I finish the script, I should just send it to them, take the paycheck, and keep it moving. And that's sadly how it works in the entertainment industry. You can't get too upset about anybody in Hollywood changing your script, because they change the script practically almost every day of a production, and it's just something you have to accept at the end of the day as a writer. As a writer, you are the bottom person on the production, and as the bottom person on the production, they want your concepts and your ideas, and basically they want you to do the labor of writing the script. But the whole thing is they just take the bones of what you've written, the structure, and then they go out here and create their own form with their own people. So you can't take it personal when they change a script, because they have every right to do so, because the two most powerful people in a production company are the executive producer, because the executive producer is financing the project, and the second person who is powerful is the director, because the director has final say on what is shot for the film. So those are the two most powerful people on a film or a TV production, and the whole goal that you have as a writer is either to just go out here and get paid by just writing the scripts, or if you really are passionate about your material, you can start working towards becoming a producer or an executive producer or a director, so you can have control over what is shot as related to your material. But usually most screenwriters who are first-time screenwriters, they just usually just take that first script and say, okay, it's sold. They go out here, count the money, and they keep it moving. And the reason why a first-time screenwriter will go out here and keep it moving is because they want to build up their reputation and they want to build up their career. So a smart screenwriter, when they see or hear about changes in the story, they don't really take it too personally. They just sit there and understand that, okay, this is part of the business, and since it's part of the business, what they do is just say, okay, that script is now in the production company's hands, and what I'm looking for as related to this script is the payday, and hopefully if I keep it professional, I might get it, and the script gets picked up further, I might get called back for some other projects, like possibly somebody might ask me to commission to write a script, and somebody may call me in for a rewrite or a polish, and it's all about just making the paper when it comes down to screenwriting. When it comes down to screenwriting, you really can't take anything too personally, because this is the entertainment business, and you have to be all about your business when it comes down to screenwriting. Once you go out here and you get this script sold, all you want to do after you've sold the script is count the money. And if an agent calls you up and says, okay, this project is greenlit, you want to be able to make sure that you can get your percentage as related to the production budget if you didn't get it before, and you want to make sure that you are getting paid royalties on that material. You want to make sure you get a good deal as related to that script, where you're at least getting your royalties for if it gets greenlit and makes some money at the box office, or it's out here and you've gotten a green light and you're getting a part of that production budget, because a screenwriter is entitled to 3 to 5% of a production budget. And if they go out here and take a script that you have some credit for, you want to be able to get a percentage of that 3 to 5% of that production budget. So it's all about the money when it comes down to screenwriting, and you just have to think just about making the money, because this is nothing personal when they go out here and tear apart your script. It's strictly business, and you have to again have a very thick skin as related to the kinds of stories you do when you're working on a screenwriting commission, because at the end of the day, you have to go out here and just get this money, because when 99% of the stuff that you wrote in an original submission is probably never going to make it to the screen. And a lot of screenwriters, they don't really understand this in the beginning. They think, oh, all I wrote is going to get shot, but 99.9% of what you wrote will probably never get shot, and it will probably all get lost in rewrites of multiple writers, because usually most production companies will hire 2 to 3 writers and then eventually use one of their writers as the main writer and probably put you in a secondary spot. But as long as you're getting credit, you're getting credit, and you're still a part of the union, which is the WGA, if that production gets greenlit. So you're still getting some money, and all you need to think about is getting that paper, because there's not much you can do about the production process unless you want to go out here and make your own films. But if you sell a script to a production company, you just have to accept that the project is theirs, and once you accept that the project is theirs, then you can be in a better mindset, because once you sell a script, you've made a major accomplishment, and that major accomplishment is you've gone out here, you've gone through the query process, you've gone through the agents, you've gotten meetings with production company executives, and they've liked your material. And what they want to see after they buy your material is professionalism. And part of being a professional is saying, okay, once I sell this script, I'm just going to move on to the next project. That's what I usually do with most of my books when I'm working on my own SJS Direct Imprint, and on those occasional commission projects I have done for other writers or other websites. Once I get the paycheck, I keep it moving, and that's the way it works in screenwriting, and that's the way it works in freelance writing. Once you finish up your work, you're moving on to the next project, and if that person calls you up and says, hey, I've got a project for you, because and they want you to do something for them, you just ask them, when do you need it, and then you leave it at that. And if they send you a treatment or a synopsis, you start developing up something. And usually, again, the first thing you do before you take that project is ask, how much am I going to get paid? Because, again, this is a money business, because there are a lot of guys out here who will ask you to do a project and then won't pay you. But when you're working on a project, what you want to do is go out here and get your money first. And that's one of the keys of being a professional screenwriter, is you want to be able to just keep getting the money and keep stacking the paper, because at the end of the day, it's all about the paper, because this is a business. And in this business, a lot of stuff gets bought, but a lot of stuff never gets produced. And you just want to be able to just keep racking up the paychecks and making the paper, because that's just how the business works. And you have to be able to navigate through your feelings as these projects get canceled, as these projects usually wind up on somebody's shelf in the development Hades for many years, but you can't get really too upset about it, because you're still out here making the paper on those projects. Because each project that you sell it may not be a credit out there on the mainstream, but in the internal records of many of these prodcos, you're building a reputation, and you're building up your professionalism, because you're out here getting stuff sold. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, is getting stuff sold. So a lot of the whole thing is, I was really happy to hear about the brother out here getting his screenplay sold, and I wanted him to know how it works in the business. And in the business, you just can't get too upset about the script getting changed, because the script is gonna get changed. And when you're working on a project, again, the writer isn't really the most powerful person on the team. He's usually the background guy, and usually in many cases, he's not even on the set, or she is not on the set, when they finally start shooting the project. I mean, the lucky guys, they get consulted and brought on as a consultant, and that's an extra paycheck. But the smart guys understand, okay, I'm just here to get another check. I mean, yeah, they might ask me how I will do this, but I know that the director has the final say on everything. But the whole thing is, it's all about getting the paychecks and making the money, because again, this is the entertainment business, and what you want to do is build up your reputation, build up your professional background, and get the professional respect and get some credits, because the writer's job is a very rough one. You're going to have to deal with a lot of people picking at your words, a lot of people criticizing your words, a lot of people saying all sorts of stuff about the script that you originally wrote, and you're going to have to hear a lot of bad things in their notes that you're not going to like, but that's just part of the business. And the whole thing is, if you're in the business, it's all about selling the scripts, because once you sell the script, all you want to do is get that money up front. And once you've got that money up front, you can't really worry about what happens to that script, because things are going to change as related to the producer and the director. They are the ones who have the final say on everything, including the other writers that they hire. So all you can do is just accept that change is going to be a part of the business, and accept that, yes, you're going to have to deal with a lot of changes, but the whole thing that's going to stay the same is you getting paid at the end of the day. So if you guys want to see me do more videos about writing and screenwriting, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to check out my first couple of screenplays, all about Marilyn and all about Nikki and Spray 'Em Up, you can find all of those screenplays in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find many of my other books on the SJS Direct imprint on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a wicked werewolf in this action-packed all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman in paperback and e-readers today.